Welcome to another episode of Figure It Out Friday. Okay, so I've talked to a lot of different moms who are in unhappy marriages or just relationships. And a lot of these relationships are extremely unhealthy, and some of them are mildly unhealthy, and some of them are, you would think they're healthy on a surface level, they're just not happy. So I asked them, what keeps them in that relationship, and I hear all sorts of excuses. I've heard tons of different types of excuses. Some are good, some are bad, some they try to justify, but in this video, I'm talking about the 5 worst excuses that you can use to stay in an unhappy relationship. I'm Danielle Ford, the founder of YoungMomsClub, where young moms go to empower themselves and design their perfect lives. And I'm just going to jump into it. In this week's episode of Figure It Out Friday, I'm just going to lay out what I think are the 5 silliest/worst reasons that you could possibly stay in a relationship. And here they are. Okay, number 1 is time. I remember one time when I was like 17-ish and my boyfriend was a terrible boyfriend to me. And I just remember working at a tanning salon, and one of my customers, I was just like, we just had a fight, and I was venting to her about, how terrible he was and all these things that he did. And she was like, well, why don't you break up? And I remembered saying that, well, we've already been together for 7 months. And then it seemed like a good reason, but I think back to it, and that is the silliest thing ever. I don't care if you've been together 7 months or 7 years or 70 years. Time has nothing to do with anything and is a terrible, terrible reason to stay in a relationship. Number 2 is guilt. A lot of moms and wives say like, well, they need me, I don't know how they'd even survive. They'd be devastated. They don't know how to do anything for themselves, referring to their husbands. All sorts of reasons why you might feel guilty. You might even feel like you owe them or something like that. That's a terrible, 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 terrible reason to stay in a relationship. And if you refer back to a previous video, I'll actually put that right here. We talk about why it's so important to put yourself first. And although the guilt will be there, it's not your responsibility. It's not your job to make sure that somebody else is okay. You need to take care of yourself first. So letting the guilt stop you from leaving a bad relationship is a really, really silly reason. Number 3 is loneliness. Thinking about breaking up or ending a relationship will make you think about how much time you're going to have to spend alone. And that can seem really scary. One of the things that people fear the most is the unknown. So just not having that person there and thinking about how lonely you might be might seem really scary. But honestly, it's fine. I've spent a lot of time alone, and there's actually some magic in it. You get really strong. You start to know yourself more. You start to find out who you really are, and being alone is nothing to be afraid of. Staying in a relationship so that you're not alone is extremely, extremely ridiculous. Now, the 4th reason that I hear girls not wanting to end a relationship is because of all the stuff they have. And stuff besides kids, which obviously the kids are not stuff, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. I don't care if it's your house, cars, stuff you've bought, furniture, yada, yada. It's just stuff. Personally, I don't know if you know my whole story yet, but I left my husband with nothing. We were in Colorado, and I packed up my car with what I needed for the next week and the kids, and drove away with literally nothing and started all over again. And it's fine, okay? I could have stayed and bickered about, all the stuff that was mine before we got together and all the stuff we accumulated and this and that and yada yada, but really, in the end, it's just stuff. And it's actually nice to have new stuff with new energy in it, and that's all yours. It's just really so stupid to stay in a relationship because of material possessions. And the 5th silly reason why people stay together when they probably shouldn't is because of the kids. This is the number 1 thing I hear all the time. It's the kids, should I end it or stay together for the kids. Okay, that is not an okay reason to stay together. I know that a lot of people think it is, that they think it's really important for kids to grow up with two parents, even if the parents aren't in love. But I personally think, and having experience with this myself, and also just knowing how it turns out for a lot of other people, it's so much more important for kids to grow up, even if it's with separate families, to see a happy mom and a happy dad, or just a happy mom or whatever, than to grow up seeing a miserable marriage, because all they have is you guys. They're not going to know how to have a healthy relationship if they grow up their entire lives seeing an unhappy marriage, and you're probably setting your kids up to have a bad marriage themselves. So never, ever, 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 ever stay together for the kids. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to work it out. There are other options. There's counseling. There's all sorts of stuff, right? But if you know that you don't want the relationship to continue, using the kids as an excuse is probably the worst one you can probably think of. So I know that there are a lot of other silly reasons to stay in a relationship when you shouldn't, but those are my top 5. Now, I'd like to know what you think about this video. Have you ever stayed in a relationship too long because of any of those reasons? Do you have any other reasons that you can add to the list? Let's chat about it in the comments. Well, that's all for today. If you liked this video, then please click like and subscribe. And as usual, if you're not part of the club yet, then head over to YoungMomsClub.com, enter your name and email, and you will immediately be part of the club. Connect with me one-on-one, and I will send you a free gift, the 7 steps to being a kick-ass young mom. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. What are some other silly reasons? Maybe it can change, maybe they can get better. Trying to change a person? No. You can never, ever, 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 ever change a person. That's a terrible reason to stay in a relationship. Family, pressure, friends, what will people think? Oh, so-and-so will talk about it, and I don't want to be the girl that got divorced, blah, 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 blah.